In the shadowed streets of ancient Rome, where the whispers of household spirits mingled with the clatter of breakfast plates, the city awoke each dawn to a world thick with superstition. Between the smoky hearths and bustling forums, rituals shaped every facet of life, from sacred chickens guiding generals to the thunderous signs of Jupiter splitting the sky. In the hallowed gloom of a soldier's camp, hens pecked ominously at Rome's fate, while in dim chambers the needy sought vengeance through cold, folded curse tablets. It's a realm of human hopes and fears, laid bare under a timeless sky, as the mighty empire placed its faith not in divine benevolence, but in arcane omens and ancient magic. Welcome to a forgotten world where potions, prayers, and prophecies danced across the Roman soul, shaping destinies with every snap of thunder and flicker of firelight. Let us enter the world of ancient Rome, where the first light touches terracotta rooftops and awakens a society rich with customs steeped in ritual and reverence. With each dawn in this bygone era, the intertwining of life with the divine unfolds, a dance orchestrated by the ever-watchful household spirits known as the Lares and Penates. The scent of early morning mingles with faint echoes of whispered prayers, setting the stage for Rome's daily communion with its spiritual guardians. In a typical Roman household, the day begins not with trivial bustle, but with a sacred ritual. The first act of every morning involves pouring libations, a reverent offering of wine to the unseen guardians residing within every home. These gestures echo Cicero's observations in De Legibus, where he describes how these simple yet profound acts link the Romans to the divine. Transcending mere custom, these rituals are affirmations of the household's prosperity, woven deeply into the fabric of their spiritual heritage. As morning whispers fill the air, the Romans honour their household deities with heartfelt devotion. Ovid's Fasti vividly captures this practice, where prayers murmured over glowing embers invoke protection and blessings. These daily rites symbolise more than tradition. They embody the Roman identity, rooted firmly in trust that their well-being is safeguarded by this sacred connection. The hearth, central to the Roman household, becomes a place where domestic life converges with the divine. The ruins of Pompeii's Vetti house reveal miniature clay altars surrounded by carbonized breadcrumbs, remnants of the rituals that breathe life into these vibrant spaces. Such altars were more than decorative. They manifested the balance between the visible and invisible, faithfully preserving a bond with celestial narratives. Children also play a crucial role in these sacred rites. Gently guided by adult hands, they participate in the rituals, learning to sprinkle grain and pour libations at the household altar. These small acts teach them to feel the presence of the divine in their lives, crafting an early sense of spiritual identity. This introduction to Roman religious traditions fosters a continuity that weaves through generations, shaping the young into carriers of tradition with an inherent understanding of pietas, the Roman ideal of duty and reverence. Bread, a humble staple, takes on sacred meaning in these morning rituals. Baking and breaking bread transcend their ordinary roles to become acts imbued with spiritual symbolism, representing sustenance bestowed by deities. Each loaf, often marked with a cross, symbolises the sun's protective journey, turning an everyday meal into a mystical communion. By dedicating the first crumbs to their gods, Romans transformed the simple act of eating into a sacred exchange, reinforcing the omnipresence of the divine. The evolving designs of household altars reveal a dynamic Roman spirituality. Archaeological finds showcase an array of frescoes, statuettes, and votive offerings that speak to the complex expressions of faith. These artistic adornments invite reflection on the dialogue between the sacred and mundane, capturing Rome's broader cultural exchanges. These altars tell stories of private prayers and public rites, a picture of a society at once deeply rooted in tradition, yet open to the winds of change. Through these daily rituals, Romans strive against the chaos of their world to create an order that offers comfort. Each sunrise renews the challenge of maintaining this peace, with rituals acting as bulwarks against external unpredictability, ensuring a semblance of control amidst the empire's challenges. Even as Rome's fortunes fluctuate, these dawn rituals remain constant, safeguarding the spiritual defences that fortify a society in an ever-changing landscape. In Rome, superstition mingles with practicality, creating a seamless tapestry of life where there exists no boundary between the material and the mystical. Recognised as rational responses to an uncertain world, these rituals transform ordinary tasks into significant actions laden with potential divine intervention. As Romans invoke favour and protection with their morning sustenance, each gesture reinforces their belief that their world is not as random as it may appear. Regardless of the social strata, trust in the Lars and Penates transcends class. During difficult times, whether personal or societal, these deities offer stability and protection. For the wealthier citizens, expensively decorated altars serve as lavish testaments to their faith, while the poor, with simpler altars, demonstrate an equally profound devotion with what little they have. These disparities reveal a society where the act of faith unites, bridging differences with common rituals. Evidenced by relics and historical texts, the rites performed for the Lares and Penates illuminate a compelling chapter in Roman spirituality, their legacy enduring through the ages. As we revisit these stories, their presence invites us to ponder how past convictions shaped society and how they continue to echo in today's world. The awe-inspiring interplay of superstition and reality informs an understanding of humanity's eternal striving to grasp life's mysteries. In the muted light of a Roman dawn, we discover timeless stories, forever alive in the simple offering before an altar. In the enigmatic world of ancient Rome, where belief in the divine entwined with every breath and step of daily life, the humble chicken assumed a role of astonishing significance. It was not mere livestock, but a bearer of celestial messages, an integral player in Rome's military and political strategies. A society attuned to the whispers of gods and fate sought omens everywhere, in the rustle of leaves, the flight of birds, and remarkably, in the pecking habits of chickens. These sacred creatures were entrusted to the augurs, esteemed priests whose task was to decode the divine will, enveloping the fate of the Roman Republic, and later its empire. Before a battle, an event that could pivot the destiny of Rome, the augurs would gather, their intent eyes trained on sacred chickens. These priests understood the cluck of a hen as a sentence from Olympus itself. According to Livy and Polybius, if the chickens feasted with fervour, it was a sign of divine approval, a green light from the heavens. Conversely, a bird's refusal to eat spelled inauspicious times ahead, urging caution or postponement. Such beliefs were not whimsical flights of fancy, but were woven deeply into the tapestry of Roman life, merging the physical with the spiritual. A striking episode etched in the annals of Roman history involved Claudius Pulcher during the First Punic War. The chickens, enigmatic as ever, chose silence over sustenance before a crucial naval conflict. Disregarding their ominous quietude, Pulcher hurled the sacred fowl into the sea, expressing disdain, wishing them to drink since they refused to eat. The ensuing catastrophe, one of Rome's most disastrous naval defeats, reinforced the belief in the divine dialogue conducted through these feathered creatures. Pulcher's story became admonitory lore, echoing the folly of ignoring the supernatural counsel. Archaeological excavations near the famed Campus Martius have breathed life into these legends. Pale remnants of a chicken coop point back to practices that once bordered on sacred rites. These findings peel back layers of earth to unveil an infrastructure painstakingly created to uphold these customs, a testament to the institutionalized reverence for the augur's task. These sparse remains silently narrate the gravity with which Romans approach these rituals, transforming superstition into a cornerstone of social conduct and governance. Yet the tale of the sacred chickens is also a tale of societal divides. In the hierarchical society of Rome, augury, like many privileges, was predominantly an elite affair. The aristocrats held sway over decision-making processes, entwined with divine readings from sacred chickens. It was privileges like these that entrenched social distinctions, as orders from the heavens were reserved for those atop the social ladder. This celestial guidance often eluded the plebeians, whose interactions with the divine were more localized and personal, reflecting a societal divide in access to celestial wisdom. Despite the layers of irony that clad the practice of seeking military counsel from livestock, these ceremonies reflect an underlying belief in the universe's capricious nature. Romans, for all their empirical might, sought certainty in uncertain sources, a paradox mirrored in the chicken rituals suggesting that understanding the unknowable was key to mastery over destiny. This was an era when the roots of fate were seen as entangled in the mundane gestures of daily life, where augury was both a science and an art, an essential fabric uniting humanity, deities and nature. The rituals involving sacred chickens birthed a rich lexicon within Roman culture, a language that remained etched in collective consciousness. The conduct of augurs, the rustle of feathers, the scratching of claws in the dust, they all formed a narrative thread that linked generations. These rites were not only religious observances, but storytelling moments that carried cultural values through time. The vocabulary of omens became part of the spiritual and cultural identity, evolving but never disappearing. The legacy of Rome's sacred chickens has transcended the boundaries of time. While they have long left the lofts of Homer's Greece and Caesar's Rome, they remain immortalized in texts, captured by painters' brushes and explored by scholars' pens. Far from a quaint chapter in ancient beliefs, they symbolize humanity's relentless quest to forge a bond with an often inexplicable cosmos. These feathered omens remain a curious intersection of myth, reality, and curiosity, a bridge to the past as we strive to decipher the eternal question of what it means to find meaning in forces beyond comprehension. The tale woven by Rome's sacred chickens thus rises above the mundane to become a dance with the divine. Their story speaks of a society that thrived on deciphering cosmic riddles through the earthly act of scattering grain. As the sacred poultry once clucked in the shadows of ancient temples, they now echo through centuries, beckoning us to ponder the mysteries of belief, a song of feathers that defies the silence of ages. In the heart of ancient Rome, where myth often mingled with reality, the practice of augury stood as a beacon of divine insight. Set against a backdrop of bustling streets and sacred temples, augurs interpreted the will of the gods through the flight of birds, weaving ordinary happenings into a tapestry of celestial omens. Deeply intertwined with religion and statecraft, augury shaped Rome's societal and political decisions. The founding myth of Romulus and Remus, where the brothers sought divine favour through bird signs, emphasises augury's profound role in legitimising leadership. Augurs would cast their eyes skyward, marking an invisible sacred space, the templum, where they read the celestial messages. Using tools like the bronze lituus, a staff symbolising their authority, they delineated this divine zone, transforming the sky into a canvas where gods and humans conversed. Excavations at Praeneste unearthed such litui, underscoring their importance and the serious craftsmanship behind them. Plutarch and Cicero detailed the rituals wherein augurs constructed a celestial dome, filtering the world's mundane noise and allowing only the enigmatic whispers of Jove to reach their ears. The language of birds became a critical lexicon, a complex system of signs for the Romans. Each species, flight pattern and sound was laden with meaning. Cicero's De Divinatione delves into the elaborate tables used to decode these signs. To the modern observer, a fleeting raven might be unremarkable, yet to the Romans its call could predict calamity. Eagles, on the other hand, often heralded victory, gliding along trajectories believed to be drawn by divine hands. Supplementary signs, like a thunderclap, might alter these avian messages, enriching or redirecting their meanings to suit the intricacies of political and military strategy. Augury's influence permeated the military sphere, guiding campaigns with divine authority. No general worth his salt would ignore an augur's reading. Before battles, bird signs dictated movements, even leading to postponements if omens proved unfavourable. Livy recounts the disaster of 249 BC, where Claudius Pulcher's dismissal of hungry sacred chickens' refusal to eat resulted in ruinous defeat, cementing augury's role and the perils of spurning divine advice. Such practices infused soldiers with confidence, marching onwards under Jove's supposed favour, believing themselves heirs to fate's blessings and Roman providence. Political arenas were not immune to the sway of augury. Senators wielded augury like a potent political tool, manipulating bird signs to endorse their schemes. When a faction sought to exert influence, aligning decisions with augural predictions provided a divine nod to their agendas. Plutarch portrays instances where critical votes hinged on a mesmerising flock of birds. Cicero lamented that tampering with signs was not uncommon, as powerful men twisted omens to suit their needs, corrupting augury's sacred status while still maintaining the reverence it commanded among the public. Beyond avian messengers, the skies themselves spoke through thunder. Seen as Jove's voice, these mighty phenomena could alter state and personal affairs alike. A sudden rumble might suspend a Senate session or prompt immediate sacrifices. Harnessing the chaotic majesty of storms, the College of Augurs imparted order and predictability to these elements, steering Rome's course with every celestial roar and ensuring that divine displeasure was met with appropriate reverence. Augury coloured the fabric of daily Roman life, extending beyond fearsome military encounters or the machinations of the Senate. Ordinary citizens turned to omens for guidance, whether deciding on the timing of a marriage or the success of a venture. While elite interpretations lay in professional hands, ordinary Romans found signs in everyday events, a dog barking or a crow alighting on a roof. Household shrines became microcosms of divine consultation, drawing the gods' gaze upon humble domiciles as much as grand temples. Public ceremonies put augury on a grand stage, merging spectacle with sacred observance. These rituals, carefully orchestrated events, reinforced the divine's tangible oversight over Rome. Augurs, garbed in ceremonial attire, performed rites to reinforce their intermediary role, blending religious devotion with civic duty. These communal displays bolstered public morale, affirming that every citizen, rich or poor, was under the gods' watchful eyes. Through chants and processions, the populace engaged actively, reinforcing their trust in augury's protective and guiding prowess. The path to becoming an augur was arduous and prestigious, a calling rather than a mere profession. Newcomers underwent rigorous training, tutored by veteran augurs, well versed in both sacred practices and political savvy. Mastery signified both religious acumen and political clout, cementing augurs as pivotal figures in Roman society. Their skill set, an amalgamation of astrology and persuasion, bridled Rome's spiritual landscape and its imperial ambitions alike. As Rome's storied existence evolved, so too did augury, a tradition grappling with the tides of change and the rise of new religions. Christianity cast a shadow over the polytheistic practices, deeming the old beliefs as antiquated superstitions. Yet the spirit of augury lingered, woven into folklore and repurposed through new lenses. Even as legal edicts sought to suppress them, signs of clandestine consultations persisted. In mosaic and memory, the echoes of augury survived, whispering the old tales of Rome's divine watchmen to generations anew. In ancient Rome, the malevolent force of the evil eye was a profound concern, lurking unseen in the affairs of daily life. This belief was woven into the social fabric, impacting both rich and poor, casting a shadow over a society deeply enmeshed with signs and omens. It was said that an envious glance could unleash calamity, bringing misfortune, illness, or even death. Eyes, often viewed as the soul's windows, wielded the power of both goodwill and hidden malice. Romans sought protection in the form of charms and rituals, and while modern perspectives might dismiss these as mere superstitions, for the Romans they were indispensable safeguards, dictating everyday choices and societal order. Tracing the cultural roots of the evil eye belief reveals a tapestry interwoven with influences from earlier Mediterranean civilizations, including the Greeks and Etruscans. These ancestors passed down their superstitions, enriching Roman lore with fears that transcended generations. The evil eye emerged symbolically in frescoes, mosaics, and pottery, depicted as glaring eyes or exaggerated gazes, potent reminders of unseen perils. Ancient texts abound with warnings against envious eyes, embedding in Roman culture a blend of tradition and caution, a rich tapestry of shared beliefs that shaped their worldview. Among the symbols they embraced, the phallus, or fascinum, stood out. It was a distinct and curious emblem against the evil eye. This sexually explicit symbol, regarded with reverence, was thought to possess substantial powers to avert misfortune. Virility and energy, embodied by the fascinum, defied the evil eye's destructive gaze. Romans didn't shy away from such imagery. Instead, they celebrated it across every stratum of society. The phallus appeared throughout Roman life, carved into buildings, engraved in jewellery, and even crafted into wind chimes, ringing with protective intent, a testament to their ingenious and candid embrace of these symbols of life's vitality as shields against intangible threats. Phallic symbols were ubiquitous in Rome, undeniably present in public and private spaces alike. Streets were lined with these images, carved into walls and pavements. Excavations in cities like Pompeii reveal the extent to which these symbols were integrated into urban life, reinforcing their significance beyond mere decoration. Placed strategically, they were constant reminders of defences interwoven into daily routines, moulding spaces into sanctuaries, realms blessed against the unseen. Beyond public symbolism, personal adornments became personal guardians. Amulets, rings and pendants carrying phallic imagery were worn as daily defences, fortifying individuals against envy. These artefacts were not only protective, but artistically expressive, ranging from simple engraved stones to intricate figures. These talismans represented the Romans' pragmatic approach to spirituality and protection, seamlessly blending craftsmanship with the mysticism of the era. In addition to individual protections, communal practices included elaborate rituals. Public spectacles like the Fascinum Parade served as collective defences. These celebrations were vivid public displays infused with magic, where effigies of phallic symbols were ceremoniously paraded to ward off malignant forces. These parades, while protective, offered entertainment and strengthened community bonds, unifying the populace against a shared, intangible enemy. The pageantry of these events, infused with protective chants and gestures, emphasised how public rituals were intricately woven into Roman life. The protection afforded to the most vulnerable, infants, was also uniquely Roman. Parents entrusted their children's safety to the bulla, a pendant symbolising both a shield against the evil eye and a rite of passage into Roman society. The bulla's significance extended beyond its protective function, embedding family identity and cultural belonging in its designs, reflecting both societal values and personal legacies. Roman literature echoed these practices. Writers like Pliny the Elder documented the pervasive use of apotropaic symbols, fascinating measures that found themselves chronicled within the narratives of historians, poets, and playwrights. Literary accounts functioned as both records and critiques, depicting a society that embraced protective wisdom while introspectively engaging with its superstitions. Religion melded with these practices, intertwining faith and protection. Romans called upon gods for divine intervention against malevolent forces, incorporating phallic symbols into religious rituals. This synergy between spiritual beliefs and superstitions provided comfort, supporting a pragmatic spirituality where protection was a shared responsibility among the divine and mundane. The protective rituals transcended class divisions, uniting Rome's diverse populace. This shared fear and the universal need for protection bridged the societal gap. Whether an ornate charm commissioned by the wealthy or a modestly crafted amulet cherished by commoners. These practices illuminated the shared recognition of superstition's power, transcending the vast class divide that characterised Rome. Archaeology continues to reveal this ancient psyche, unearthing artefacts and imagery that recount Rome's engagement with these invisible threats. These discoveries, coupled with advanced scientific techniques, further unravel how these practices adapted over time, offering an intricate glimpse into the past. the legacy of these ancient practices endures, echoing through the corridors of history. Roman superstitions laid a cultural foundation that influenced generations and cultures far removed, seen today in customs like Italy's corno amulet. These enduring traditions reflect an innate human desire for protection and meaning, bridging time and distance, showing history's lasting power to captivate and mirror contemporary fears. In ancient Rome, lightning was much more than just a natural occurrence. It was a message from the gods, particularly Jupiter, the king of the celestial pantheon. This powerful force of nature carried with it a divine mandate, interpreted with both reverence and trepidation by the people. When a bolt of lightning struck the earth, it was seen as a direct communication from the heavens, demanding immediate attention and interpretation by the community's religious officials. In this deeply spiritual society, where the line between religion and state affairs was almost non-existent, a single lightning strike could halt normal life, transforming it into a ceremonial observance of the divine will. The area affected by lightning was quickly declared sacred ground, demarcated by marble precinct markers to ensure that the territory was respected as a holy site. The College of Lightning, an esteemed religious body, played a critical role in these events. Its priests, highly revered not just for their spiritual insight, but also for their authority over public policy, interpreted these celestial occurrences, guiding the community in responding to what was seen as a godly edict. The college's interpretation and procedures were meticulous. They combined divination with religious doctrine to decode the divine message. Upon a lightning strike, a series of purification rituals ensued, involving sacrifices and offerings to appease the gods. This was a community endeavour, symbolising both an acknowledgement of human vulnerability and a submission to the divine will. Prominent spaces impacted by lightning would often be transformed into altars or temples dedicated to Jupiter, reinforcing the sacredness of the spot and the perceived omnipresence of divine oversight in everyday Roman life. Public interaction with these consecrated zones served as a constant reminder of the celestial powers that govern the mundane and extraordinary aspects of Roman existence. In some notable incidents, these lightning strikes significantly influenced public policy and civic life. One such event occurred when a bolt struck a statue on Capitoline Hill, coinciding with a time of societal unrest. The Senate interpreted this as a clear divine message, prompting immediate action, including the sanctification of the site and an adjustment in public activities in accordance with the new religious directives. Another incident saw lightning striking the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, prompting fear and awe among the populace. The rigorous sacrificial rituals that followed underscored the gravity of such events in the Roman psyche, as the authorities sought to make amends with the heavens. These stories illustrate the extent to which celestial phenomena could disrupt the rhythm of Roman life, reshaping it through the lens of divine command and echoing the belief that the gods directly influence the path of the city and its people. The inscriptions on the marble precinct markers serve dual roles as both reminders of the divine presence and as tools for governance. They were not merely stones, but carriers of a message that resonated across the fabric of society, gestures of reverent submission to celestial forces. Embedded within these markers was the Roman commitment to enshrining divine communications within their civic and religious lives. ensuring that the traces of the god's will were visible in the very structure of the city. The practice of burning sacrifices and burying spears where lightning struck exemplified the Romans' attempts to reconcile with divine forces. Sacrificial ceremonies were public affairs where the community united in addressing divine displeasure through offerings that sought to cleanse the air and restore balance. The burial of a spear, symbolic of martial power, represented a form of acknowledging Jupiter's supreme authority by returning this symbol to the earth, a profound act of spiritual humility within the military-centered culture of Rome. The belief in lightning's power was not confined to any single part of society. Rather, it had political implications reaching the Senate's hallowed chambers, where decisions were deeply influenced by omens interpreted from the skies. A lightning strike could halt construction, brand land as sacred, and even alter military campaigns, serving as a reminder to Romans of the ever-watchful eyes of the gods. Despite advancements in understanding the natural world, the Romans maintained a dual-pronged approach to phenomena like lightning, seeking scientific explanations while honouring religious interpretations. Intellectual figures such as Seneca engaged in discussions balancing natural philosophy with divine inquiry, reflecting an ancient quest to understand the multifaceted nature of these spectacular phenomena without discarding their spiritual significance. Today, the legacy of Rome's lightning superstitions echoes within our culture, capturing imaginations with stories of divine interactions. These narratives illustrate humanity's enduring quest for meaning amidst life's uncertainties. Although modern science has largely demystified lightning, the cultural and religious narratives of the past continue to hold sway, inviting us to reflect on how ancient practices sought coherence and understanding from forces beyond human control. The awe and reverence with which the Romans approached such events serve as timeless reminders of our own connections to the mysteries of the universe, bridging past and present in our shared journey to fathom the unknowable forces of nature. The creation of a defixio was more than a spontaneous act. It was a deliberate ritual steeped in precision and dark intent. A supple piece of lead became the canvas for one's deepest desires and fiercest grievances. Crafted with sharp tools, the inscriptions solicit the aid of deities such as Hecate or Pluto. Their names, a rhythmic cadence of power meant to enhance the curse's strength. Ritualistic elements often accompanied this process. Effigies bound with hair might accompany these tablets, creating a tangible link to the target. Once folded with meticulous care, the tablets found their resting places in symbolic locations, tombs, wells, or sacred sites, where the earthly met the ethereal in a potent invocation of the divine. The list of grievances immortalised on these tablets reveals a fascinating tapestry of emotions: jealousy, ambition, and the innate quest for retribution. Love, in its many forms, often stood at the heart of these curses. Spurned lovers would inscribe pleas to subdue or punish those who wronged them, an echo of private chaos beneath Rome's structured veneer. Yet the reach of these curses extended far beyond matters of the heart. Business disputes, legal conflicts, and political ambitions found their voice in the leaden whispers, as individuals sought divine intervention in what mortal justice could not provide. Chariot races, the grand spectacles that captivated all of Rome, were particularly prone to these manipulations. Curses detailed the hobbling of competitors' horses, revealing a world where victory was sought not just on the sands of the arena, but through esoteric methods laid in shadow. The line between honour and deceit blurred as divination undermined the spirit of competition, infusing it with the supernatural intrigue of sorcery and subversive charmcraft. For women in this patriarchal society, these tablets were sometimes the only means to assert their will. When personal desires were stifled by societal expectations or arranged marriages, the divination offered a clandestine path to agency, a cry to bind the affections of a reluctant heart or to dismantle a rival's relationship became an act of empowerment, challenging societal norms through the veiled language of magic and supplication. The legal landscape of Rome was fraught with bias and limitations. Citizens, especially those of lesser means, often found themselves at the mercy of corrupt or inaccessible systems. Here, divination became instruments of justice or injustice, and a way to invoke supernatural law. Invocations to underworld deities ask for verdicts to be swayed or adversaries to suffer ill fortune, blending legal ambitions with existential dread. These curses depicted an interplay between the cosmic order and Roman jurisprudence, where divine intercession was conceivable through fervent incantations and chants of redemption. Beyond justice and love, the sporting arena also bore witness to Rome's darker undercurrents. The grandeur of the Roman games was shadowed by the dark machinations woven into these events. Chariot races, steeped in the fervour of public spectacle, were marred by hexes intended to cripple opponents and ensure victory. Gladiatorial combat, with its existential stakes, saw participants entangled not just in physical battles, but in a supernatural theatre where victory was negotiated through secret spells and invisible forces. At the heart of these rituals were the gods and spirits called upon, providing a spiritual hierarchy to which Romans adhered fiercely. Deities like Pluto and Hecate, along with ancestral spirits, played roles in the tapestry of curses, embodying a belief in a dynamic underworld, alive with intermediary forces ready to alter mortals' destinies. Curses on divination were thus not mere imprecations, but involved a profound connection with the beyond, drawing on familial spirits to bolster their power. As modern archaeologists unearth these artefacts, each curse tablet becomes a portal into Rome's hidden fears and ambitions. They are encoded stories revealing the city's mystical essence, with advances like X-ray imaging unlocking secrets of folded tablets. Findings from places like Bath or Carthage surprise scholars with their raw humanity, illuminating ancient desires that persist through time. These echoes of Roman life from a bygone epoch remind us of humankind's eternal struggles with destiny. Yet in the irony that fate often laughs at those who seek to control it, the success of these curses was never guaranteed. Tales from Roman literature speak of backfires and unintended consequences, where curses unleashed upon others found their way back to their creators. This dance of cosmic justice reflects a timeless truth, where ambition and hubris collide with the forces of fate, emphasizing human vulnerability in the face of forces beyond control. Today, these ancient lead-folded echoes still resonate, casting reflections on human nature's enduring quest for power and retribution. They offer a mirror to the complexities of the human condition, where the desire to manipulate fate transcends ages, echoing timeless truths through the whispered incantations of a past that still haunts the present. In the dawn of Roman history, the Lemuria festival emerged as a sombre and intriguing tradition, entwining the living with the spirits of the deceased. Every May, Romans partook in this 3-day ritual to appease the lemures, those restless spirits that hovered between realms, driven by improper funeral rites or unfulfilled earthly ties. While the origins of Lemuria are shrouded in myth and mystery, some suggest a connection to Remus, the tragic figure from Rome's legendary foundations. Through the poetic accounts of Ovid in his Fasti, we glimpse a relic of Roman piety, illustrating their fervent belief in the afterlife's sway over mortal existence. As night cloaked the Roman world, the Lemuria ceremonies commenced with a profound duality of dread and reverence. Within each household, the paterfamilias, the family patriarch, embarked on a solemn midnight journey. Barefoot he moved through the flickering shadows, cast by dim oil lamps, clutching black beans like talismans. Each bean tossed behind him was a silent plea, a bribe to coax these spectres back to their shadowy abode. The midnight silence amplified the mystical whispers of the paterfamilias, whose incantations sought to weave bonds between transient worlds. These rituals served as a poignant reminder of the Romans' understanding that benign spirits could bless them, while malevolent ones could unleash discord. The act of bean throwing became more than an archaic custom. It was a dynamic convergence of the physical and ethereal, a practical yet mystical exercise in maintaining cosmic order. Romans believed that beans possessed a mystical essence capable of absorbing souls, serving as a conduit between the living and the dead. Ovid's narrative breathes life into these enigmatic practices, offering a vivid panorama through which we discern the anxiety and respect that permeated Roman spirituality. His words imbue the Lemuria with suspense, portraying a society where tradition wove tightly with supernatural intrigue. Archaeological discoveries echo Ovid's verses, revealing caches of black beans in Roman drains. These relics of ritual affirm the prevalence of Lemuria, showing how household actions intersected with broader cultural beliefs. The very presence of these beans in domestic settings imparts a tactile connection to the past, illustrating how ordinary objects became sacrosanct through communal trust and shared fears. As Rome transitioned into a new era under the influence of Christianity, tensions brewed. Church leaders, intent on reshaping the spiritual landscape, branded Lemuria and its rites as vestiges of a heathen past. They derided participants as bean throwers who bargain with shadows, yet for many Romans, these rituals were indelibly etched into their cultural identity. This uneasy coexistence between old ways and emerging ideologies highlights the complexities facing a civilization at the spiritual crossroads. The paterfamilias, that steadfast pillar of Roman family life, stood as the custodian of these rites, weaving them into the fabric of familial and societal obligation. His role was crucial, mediating between the temporal realm and that of his ancestors. To neglect this duty was to court disaster, risking spiritual disharmony not just for the individual, but for the entire family. In his hands, the power of words and actions intersected, forming a bulwark against the awakening shadows of yesteryear. In these rituals, words wielded a formidable strength, embodying a force that reached across the veils of life and death. The whispered incantations during Lemuria represented Rome's oral traditions, where utterances like threads bound the living to their spectral kin. In every repetition of ancient phrases lay the weight of history, a testament to the Roman conviction that language could tame the fears of the unknown. The Lemuria rites were an immersion of the senses, enmeshing participants in a symphony of sensations that blurred the corporeal and spiritual. The soft patter of beans against stone, the faint rustle of feet on cool floors, and the murmur of incantations filled the night air, crafting an atmosphere brimming with otherworldly anticipation. This multisensory experience reflected the Romans' intricate approach to worship, grounding their rituals in a reality heightened by tradition. Though Lemuria's direct observance waned, its influence lingered, finding echoes in later traditions such as All Saints' Day and Halloween, which bear traces of reverberation from the ancient festival. Through the sands of time, the fear of restless spirits and the compulsion to honour them painted a universal tale, seamlessly woven into evolving contexts. Ultimately, Lemuria represents a timeless dialogue with death, a window into a world where the living and the dead negotiated coexistence through ritual acts and whispered words. Amidst Rome's ruins, we find a civilization that grappled with the mysteries of life beyond, crafting traditions that echo into eternity. Imagine a sacred temple dedicated to healing, where the air hangs thick with both reverence and anticipation. Here, ancient pilgrims found their way to the Asclepiaea, hoping to catch the divine favour of Asclepius, the esteemed god of healing and medicine. Born to Apollo and the mortal Coronis, Asclepius quickly became a symbol of health, a beacon of hope that drew the afflicted from the farthest corners of the Roman Empire. These temples, nestled amidst stunning natural landscapes, thought to be imbued with healing energy, offered more than just consolation to those burdened with maladies. They promised miracles where conventional medicine had failed. In these serene sanctuaries, divine intervention mingled with emerging medical practices, a dramatic interplay that made Asclepius's temples centres of both spiritual and corporeal restoration. As night descended, the temple transformed into a realm of dreams, a place where the ethereal met the earthly. Pilgrims carrying offerings and aspirations shaped by desperation lay on simple straw mats, eyes closed under a moonlit sky. The ritual was known as incubation, waiting not for sleep, but for nocturnal visitations that would reveal diagnoses and cures conceived in dreams. It was a sacred journey, founded on the belief that Asclepius himself communicated through these visions, with darkened temple cloisters serving as portals to divine consultations. For those who came with ailments beyond the reach of human healers, each sigh of the wind through the columns and every rustle in the night promised an encounter with the god of medicine. Temple priests played a crucial role in these celestial negotiations. By day, their whispers interpreted the night's dreams, pulling forth meaning like soothsayers to discern Asclepius's will. When dawn brought its light, patients would recount their visions against vivid murals depicting the god's miracles. The priests, custodians of both temple and knowledge, offered interpretations and bestowals of the god's prescriptions, be it through offerings, a new diet, or further pilgrimages. Tales of healed afflictions spread like ripples through communities, each success sculpting the reputation of Asclepius as a benevolent deity capable of curing the incurable. In this mystical ambience, sacred serpents slithered freely, embodying Asclepius himself. Non-venomous by nature, these creatures, with their skin shedding symbolising renewal, were intrinsic to the temple's sanctified space. For pilgrims, a chance encounter with these snakes was a direct brush with the divine, suggesting that recovery was near or favour had been granted. The snake, nestled in Roman and Greek spiritual symbolism, represented the liminal space between life and afterlife, a perfect totem for the healing god's command over life's most profound transitions. Yet not all Romans were captivated by these sleepy exchanges with divinity. Skeptics like the physician Galen voiced criticism of dream-derived diagnostics. He upheld a more empirical approach to medicine, declaring with notable disdain that some people trust pillows more than physicians. This juxtaposition underscored a broader discourse on faith versus empirical inquiry, a tug-of-war echoing through centuries of medical evolution, where the lines blurred between spiritual guidance and scientific rigour. Yet even Galen, while critical, could not entirely dismiss the role of spirituality, as he too sometimes interwove the intangible with the tangible in his treatments, revealing an era in flux between myth and methodology. The cross-cultural journey of Asclepius from Greek deity to Roman icon embodies a historical symbiosis, reflecting the Romans' hallmark of assimilating the gods and customs of others. Temples originally Greek evolved under Roman influence into a vital part of their religious and medical worlds. These spaces operated not just as places of healing, but as melting pots of beliefs, where diverse cultures shared rituals and stories, enriching Roman spirituality with global depth. The Asclepia thus symbolised connectivity and integration, where healing wasn't merely patchwork mending of the body, but a profound spiritual journey, embracing each sufferer's soul. As Rome sprawled its influence, so too did the temples of Asclepius, rising in bustling urban centres far beyond their Greek origins. These hubs became emblematic of Roman adaptability, seamlessly folding foreign traditions into their own, enhancing religious rites to meet an ever-expanding apolitical frontier. This transformation paints a vivid scene, Roman ritual bearing the remnants of Greek heritage, as captivating in complexity as it was in inclusivity. In this grand collage of ancient belief and practice, healing transcended the simple, physical act, becoming an experience steeped in timeless holiness and shared cultural legacies. In the shadowy alcoves of ancient Rome, necromancy was whispered about with both fear and fascination. Though condemned by officialdom, these esoteric rituals thrived on the city's fringes, embodied by dark clandestine gatherings on the mysterious Esquiline Hill. Here, visionaries and magicians sought communion with spirits of the afterlife, driven by the hope of unlocking knowledge hidden beyond mortal understanding. By night, these seekers of forbidden truths would roam, armed with elaborate incantations and arcane symbols, hoping to pierce the veil that separates life from death. Visions of blood-streaked rites, underscored by a desperation to tame the unknown, lingered in the Roman mind. Rituals meticulously crafted demanded sacrifices, dark sacrifices meant to appease and lure departed souls. Black lambs and goats, their blood pooling into sacrificial pits, served as soul boundaries between worlds, nourishing spirits with their chilling sanguine offerings. These pits, dug into sacred soil, were more than mere conduits. They were seen as physical portals to the spirit realm, imbued with the mystical power of the earth itself. Among the figures who haunt the annals of Roman lore, Canidia emerges as a powerful symbol of necromantic lore. Immortalised by Horace, her character is the dreaded embodiment of necromantic prowess. Painted as a fearsome witch, Canidia's tales wind through the collective fears of society. A woman wielding her power through potions, spells, and the guidance of spirits. In a culture dominated by masculine authority, Canidia's mastery of the dark arts symbolises a fear of female autonomy, her sinister reputation magnifying the patriarchal unease toward women who defied societal boundaries. Taking the pulse of Roman society, one finds a people ambivalent about these forbidden arts. While necromancy was banned and branded as maleficium, its hold on the popular imagination was undeniable. Cursed tablets or defictiones whispered promises of power. The ability to bind adversaries through appeals to underworld deities, inscribed with intricate curses and secret desires, these lead sheets were embedded in the earth, a plea for the cosmos to align fate with personal ambition. Their existence offers a window into the deeper layers of Roman life, where the tangible and the supernatural collided, reflecting the intense human struggles for control and retribution. Throughout the Republic and Empire, Roman rulers sought to extinguish necromancy's beguiling allure. Laws were crafted to stifle these enigmatic practices, recognising in them both a cultural challenge to state authority and a manifestation of social unrest. Necromancy's persistence, however, mirrored society's internal conflicts between the allure of the irrational and the rigour of rational law. Its resilience was a testament to the tension between state control and individual yearning for insight beyond the living's grasp. Despite these strictures, secret gatherings marked the hidden landscape, leaving subtle traces etched into Roman memory. Charcoal circles drawn with esoteric precision served both as protective sanctuaries and symbolic delineations. Here, under the moonlit sky, necromancers consulted stars and invoked the spirits within a clandestine fellowship that defied Roman orthodoxy. These gatherings, blending astrology with ritual, offered a rare solidarity, a subculture of resistance against societal norms, driven by ancient practices passed through generations. Public seances, meanwhile, captivated those eager to glimpse beyond the mortal coil. Amidst skepticism and wonder, these gatherings presented the mystical as a theatrical yet genuine communion with the beyond. Smoke curled into the night air, reflections danced in dim light, and attendees clung to the hope of transcending their earthly confines. Though such spectacles often attracted both vilified charlatans and revered seers, they reinforced necromancy's enduring psychological grip, a blend of spectacle and sincerity, drawing Rome's citizens to flirt with the spectral unknown. In the fabric of Roman narrative, necromancy's legacy emerged in rich tapestries of literature and art. Tales spun by poets and playwrights navigated the perilous waters of this dark art, offering moral and existential contemplation. These stories, set against a backdrop of epitaphs and midnight rituals, stirred audiences to ponder life's fragility and the mysteries beyond. Frescoes and sculptures, with motifs of death and spectral guidance, captured this narrative visually, an embodiment of Rome's enduring existential quests. Today, echoes of Rome's necromantic past ripple through modern culture, where the spirits of ancient practices breathe new life into contemporary storytelling. Within the pages of Gothic novels or haunting beats of popular media, necromancers step forth, wielding their shadowy influence once more. Such revivals underscore humanity's intrinsic yearning to unravel life's ultimate mystery, a quest threaded through time, revitalizing ancient fears and binding us to a shared human curiosity. As this narrative unfolds, necromancy stands as a symbol of our perpetual quest to straddle the boundaries of life and death, It is a dialogue with the shadows, a reflection on our shared desire to perceive and shape the unknown. Rome's flourishes with this dark art, amid stone temples and whispered myths, remind us of the intricate dance between power, knowledge, and the intrinsic mysteries that define the human journey. In our contemplation of necromancy, we witness a vibrant tapestry interwoven with humanity's bravest and most haunting inquiries into the nature of existence. In the twilight of ancient Rome, as shadows lengthened across the empire's storied streets and ancient monuments, the old gods seemed poised to retreat into obscurity. Christianity was on the rise, its doctrine supported by imperial endorsements, leaving little room for the myriad deities who had long governed the Roman understanding of fate, fortune, and the cosmos. Yet those gods whose whispers had guided emperors and everyday citizens alike did not vanish quietly. With resolute defiance, they clung tenaciously to the hearts of Romans, most notably among the senatorial class who, despite the shift in official policy, continued to seek guidance from augurs and honour the deities of their ancestors. As Ammianus Marcellinus observed, these clandestine consultations were far from acts of mere stubbornness. They embodied the deeply ingrained belief that divine forces that had shaped Rome's destiny, remained influential. The transition towards Christianity was, after all, a gradual one, with polytheistic rituals and Christian rites coexisting and often merging in strange and compelling ways. The practical Romans, ever keen to hedge their bets, maintained a tenuous hold on their ancient spiritual practices, demonstrating a cultural inertia resistant to abrupt change. In this landscape of spiritual transition, the Theodosian Code emerged as a powerful tool of the Christian emperors. Through its dictates, it sought to outlaw the private performance of pagan rituals and divinations, branding them relics of an unenlightened past. Yet much like the gods themselves, these practices proved difficult to eradicate. The code was rigorous in its language, but lacked in enforcement. Its sweeping decrees often met with ambivalence on the ground. In the labyrinthine corridors of imperial Rome, the fight against the old religions revealed the complex interplay between religious authority and entrenched cultural norms. Despite, perhaps because of, the Christian Church's own adaptability, this proved a period of syncretic development, as traditional Roman ceremonies took on new meanings within the burgeoning Christian framework. Certain pagan festivals found echoes in Christian celebrations, mirroring a strategic assimilation of ancient rites. The Church, caught between doctrinal purity and cultural accommodation, often absorbed elements of the old ways rather than risk alienating a populace deeply attached to its cultural heritage. Festivals like the joyous Saturnalia lived on, reimagined in the guise of Christian observances like Christmas, preserving the rhythms of Roman spiritual life. This melding of traditions extended beyond festivals to the very symbols of protection and power. Apotropaic symbols, those ancient wards against evil, remained pervasive even as Rome embraced Christianity. Mosaic artworks from the 6th century, crafted within early Christian churches, incorporated motifs like the evil eye, a testament to the enduring belief in the protective power of symbols. Such imagery coexisted with sacred iconography, creating a fascinating blend of the sacred and the superstitious. The Roman clergy faced an uphill battle against these ingrained superstitions, their sermons railing against pagan practices viewed as contradictory to the new faith. Yet, behind closed doors and whispered among the laity, the rituals persisted. Ecclesiastical records reveal the tensions of this era, as early church councils struggled to address syncretism without alienating a congregation still entwined with its pagan past. The clergy navigated a precarious path, caught between the desire for doctrinal purity and the reality of a culture still steeped in its ancient traditions. Despite official pronouncements, daily Roman life mirrored these enduring allegiances. Household rituals retained their superstitious elements, even as their meanings evolved. Charms were still placed and omens observed, offering comfort and continuity in an uncertain world. These practices, embedded within the community and personal identities, defied temporal boundaries and ecclesiastical edicts alike. The interplay of superstition and identity was profound in this era, where the Roman conception of self was forged in the crucible of tradition. As the state renounced its ancient rites, the populace grappled with the daunting task of reinventing their spirituality. Yet the vestiges of old beliefs remained crucial anchors in a world of shifting paradigms. This blend of spirituality and pragmatism had long defined Roman society, where superstition served to reinforce social hierarchies and address life's unpredictability. In their rituals, Romans found a language to communicate anxiety and agency, employing superstition not as mere folly, but as a framework through which to interpret and influence their world. As the empire transitioned from dusk toward twilight, superstition and faith continued their age-old dance, illustrating Romans' enduring fascination with the dualities of light and shadow. Roman spirituality embraced both divine providence and the unknown's foreboding mysteries, a paradox mirrored in Christian theology's attempts to unify context and faith. At the heart of this narrative lay a culture rich with contradiction, where the legions, once mighty and now mere whispers in dust, embodied an existential portrayal of humanity's struggle with the cosmos. In our modern world, the echoes of Roman superstition persist, subtly entwined within the fabric of various cultures. Whether in the motifs of the evil eye or the enduring fascination with augury, these ancient practices survive, rebranded and repurposed across time and continents. Although science has redefined belief systems, the haunting legacy of Rome's superstitions evokes humanity's timeless endeavour to navigate our universe's complexities. It is a mesmerising legacy, continuously unfolding within the eternal dance of history. And as we dig deeper into our past, let this compel you, our intrepid viewer, to further explore, like and subscribe to unravel more of such fascinating tales.